How does a man become one of MMA's biggest stars? It's a genius plan of a man born into hardship and struggle, crafting the ultimate villain persona and backing it all up with vicious intent. This is the self-destructive rise of Ilia Topuria.
Heavy, huge combination for the Spaniard. Heavy shot from him. That jab, man.
Whilst there are no prerequisites to be a fighter, too often it is those who come from a life of hardship that rise from bottom to top. For struggle instills a work ethic unmatched, a motivation like no other, and that would come within Ilia's early years, which were for elongated periods, formed without either parent present.
I born in Germany, I lived there for 7 years, and then we moved to Georgia.
Y fueron como viví momentos duros porque tuve que vivir la separación con mis padres. Cuando tenía 8 años mis padres pues decidieron venirse a España y pues para un niño de 8 años era duro, ¿no? Vivir sin sus padres, pues hasta los 15 años vivía sin ellos. Y después cuando nos hemos mudado aquí en España con 15 años queríamos como seguir practicando el mismo deporte, pero no habían gimnasios de la lucha grecorromana.
It's a rarity for a child to be so headstrong and driven towards one singular goal, but Ilia had his mind set. To become a fighting great would require great sacrifice, and if that meant the end of a school education in favor of a fighting one, it was a worthy decision.
I left the school when I was like 15 years old because when I was 15 years old, I go with my brother to talk to my father. We don't want to go to school anymore, but we really want to train, and we're gonna go like all day, every day into gym, and we're gonna train because my dream was to get to fight in the UFC. And he told me like, if you're really gonna train all the time and like you tell me, you have my approval.
Like so many, a path through fighting found. The gloves, bag and mats were a haven not just for Ilia and his brother, but the many kids alongside. Spain would finally be the ground needed for the two to hone their craft, granting opportunities when Georgia couldn't. And come the age of 17, at an innocuous regional promotion, one of El Matador's first amateur victories was bound by fate.
When I was 17 years old, they did a competition called Arnold Fighters. You know, it was an MMA competition. My fight was the first fight, you know, in the event. And before I start to fight, Arnold come to the cage, you know, and he watched just my fight. I had a really great performance. I did a suplex and...
Spurred on by a great, even if not one from the fighting world, El Matador would embark on a bloody warpath through regional promotions, the manner of which most fitting of his nickname. For lesser men, achieving visceral victory required years of honing the craft and cage experience, but Ilia, bolstered by his upbringing and the innate ability within, was years ahead of the curve.
Rakenteeltaan sellainen kaveri, että sieltä se...
A 5-0 record, all of them predatory finishes. Such a pedigree had Topuria recognized quickly by MMA's larger promotions. Yet fight for the bantamweight throne was a statement of intent, a belief in their new man. But a weight miss, an egregious one at that, perhaps shed some light on the Spaniard's psyche. The reasoning obviously not a lack of discipline, more likely an excruciating cut far beyond his body's capabilities. And as rules go, the belt was unable to be claimed as a result. But what if it went beyond that? Topuria's mind was set on something far bigger. A victory here and any more outside of the UFC were nothing more than stepping.
Súper confiado.
Might a triangle armbar combination. And it's over.
El miedo como que intenta apoderarse de mí. El miedo es una ilusión. Yo dejo que el miedo me atraviese.
Back off that kid. Oh, he gets caught.
The next stage of the plan reached. In the wake of the COVID pandemic, a new influx of additional fighting talent was needed as the UFC resumed. It may have been on a quiet stage in an empty arena, but it was there that Topuria could make his mark in front of the millions sat at home. On short notice, yes, but to a man with the utmost belief in his ability, it never mattered anyway.
La UFC, pero en Abu Dhabi, en 8 días. Y dije, mira, Las oportunidades no te vienen todos los días y menos así, ¿sabes? Esto es mi sueño y me da igual que tenga 8 días a aprovechar mi oportunidad.
Fighting out of Alicante, Spain, here is the undefeated Ilia Topuria.
Lovely suplex there by Topuria.
I just want a man who has the belt, and anyone, I don't care. I want to fight with anyone.
All combinations. Those body shots have now officially set up the headshot, and it's all over.
The masses now knew his name. In a fighting division not necessarily regarded for its knockout power, Topuria had broken the mold in just 2 professional outings. A man with the foundations of a wrestler, cutting through his opponents on the feet. It was that reason for so much of his early success. Throwing caution to the wind was the primary directive. The UFC knew they had something special, but would not protect the man with subpar competition as they had done with previous Golden Geese. Instead, a trial by fire, thrown to the dogs, one of which a man that no one wanted to fight.
I'm not asking to fight the #1 guy in the division. I wouldn't do that. The only reason I find myself looking at the 5, 6, 7 guys is because everyone between me and them has said no.
He's a guy that has struggled to get opponents because people seem to think too much risk, not enough reward.
He's not so good like everyone is talking about him. Of course, he's a good grappler, but nothing special for me.
Ryan Hall was in truth an anomaly, enforcing a rigid dichotomy between Topuria's hardened boxing-heavy style and his strange jiu-jitsu base. It is in many cases the unorthodox that prevails in the art of war, as Dricus du Plessis may tell you, and for a time Ryan Hall looked to tread the exact same path. His blank persona was unassuming, but behind the facade a secret weapon, a dangerous leglock game that had smited even those as prestigious as BJ Penn. By taking on the man no one wanted to fight, Topuria looked to bolster his reputation and shut down this silly act through cold, calculated efficiency.
Like, look at this. Like, he just falls down. There it is. Big shot. Oh, big shot. He might be. He's
Ilia Topuria.
Power had prevailed, and the world put on notice. In an era full of stale showmen, it was a simple fighting equation solved. State your intent, bring the violence, and reap the rewards. Ilia intended to do so at any opportunity, making his name through combat instead of just the microphone. So when a short notice opportunity to enter the Lion's Den presented itself once more, he would take it up without hesitation. A UFC return to London, upper weight class against the formidable Englishman Jai Herbert. With little time to prepare, there was no game plan to construct, no analysis to be made, only the innate will to win. For all of the little prep time he had, however, Topuria's focus would not be on his adversary, instead another man. The UFC's new biggest star, who channeled the fighting flair of McGregor and Scouse cheek a la Darren Till. Enter Paddy the Baddy Pimblett.
When the crowd was chanting his name, that is still like maybe the best thing that I've gotten to do.
The crux of their feud came through the vice of social media, in which past tweets from the Scouser had struck the Georgian to the core.
He posed, now I understand why Russia destroyed Georgia, because you are dumps. And it makes my blood boil, you know. When I saw, I was like surprised, because in 2008, I was living in Georgia when the war happened, you know. And it was a very difficult time for me, for my family, for all my friends, for my country, you know. A lot of innocent people, kids were dying in that war, and see how someone is joking about that, it makes my blood boil. So
I'm just standing there eating my eggs. He looks over, just looked down, I was like, what's happening, lad?
He looked to me like a nice guy, and he wanted to shake my hand.
I stepped back and picked the hand sanitizer up and bounced it off his head. He's like, hold me back, lad, hold me back. Didn't do nothing because he's a maggot.
I let them waste their energy doing whatever fuckery they're doing, you get me? I'm doing my thing. Yeah, I'm out here just chilling.
A publicised feud that overshadowed both men's actual bouts, as well as the night's main event. Ilia, by ruffling the feathers of the UFC's shiny new toy, had been branded with the mark of a villain forevermore. A namesake he was willing to own going forward, but those pre-fight distractions would nearly catch up to him.
He gets head kicked. The perfect head kick.
And he has the speed advantage.
Next round sent him into the dark lands. Blasted him against the... I mean, literally slept him.
Unbelievable knockout by Topuria. So the game plan was simple. Come in and take his head off. That was the game plan. Paddy Pimblett, win or lose, I want to fight you next and kick like I did the last time.
It's one thing to remain undefeated with an aura of invincibility, but when that mental shield is cracked, most crumble, and it takes a different animal to withstand it and fire back with a shot far greater. I can speak from personal experience in how the Spaniard shut the O2 arena down that night. Through the art of war, he had turned a chorus of boos into a sea of respectful applause. He had forged a legacy that night, but so had Paddy, and their feud was far from over.
Give him his due, lad. It was a good knockout. Do you think Paddy will fight you in the future?
Paddy? Never. Maybe if Dana stay with him like with a gun, maybe yes.
As I say, he's just hand sanitizer boy to me.
I don't think he has the balls to fight me.
A lion doesn't concern themselves with the opinions of sheep. He can...
For now, they would not cross paths inside of the cage. The UFC were not keen to match two rising stars against one another, and instead, Ilia would return to featherweight, finding himself strategically placed on the UFC 282 pay-per-view, the co-main of which was of course helmed by his Scouse nemesis. The actual man in the Spaniard's way, one like previous foe Ryan Hall, a total anomaly. Not through his in-the-cage style, but just about everything outside of it. Enter Bryce Mitchell.
I wore my boots for the flight. And you know why I wear my boots on a plane?
Hold on, let me think for a second. Nuh-uh.
Right when I get on, I'm looking for terrorists.
For all of his antics and deeply questionable views.
Let me tell you something right now, Bisping. Gravity ain't real. You know what?
Mitchell was an MMA fighter, an elite one at that. Just like the Spaniard, undefeated, with a BJJ game that could rival Ryan Hall's. For Topuria, a true test, with no roadblocks or short notice camps. A clear step up in competition, one I'm sure adequately prepared for. His approach towards Bryce Mitchell was a mostly civil one. That smug smile showed a level of self-confidence unmatched. Victory was not a possibility, but an outcome certain.
He's so dangerous everywhere. He's dangerous with submissions. He's dangerous with kicking. His heart is dangerous.
I think people underestimate his intelligence and how he is really playing chess.
I think he got stung. Oh, big uppercut. Oh, he got hurt.
I should wake up every morning and to tell myself like to keep sleeping and keep with your dreams, or wake up and make it true.
Wow. Ragdoll pancaked him. Yep. Look at this.
Whoa! Still undefeated!
Wow.
Ilia Topuria submits
Oh my goodness.
Mitchell.
El Matador had goaded Bryce into his area of expertise before destroying him in his own. And by the end of the night, he was the one to overshadow his nemesis in the event's fallout. Paddy's fight was marred with a controversial decision. One that would go his way, but the fan sentiment had begun to shift.
How did anyone think he won that fight?
Clearly lost the fight. Jared will win all 3 rounds. He didn't win any rounds. But anyways, him.
Hand sanitizer boy can keep using my name for some publicity as he wants. I live in his head rent-free, but he's asking for the baddie because he knows who the boy is.
Paddy was hardly wrong. It was a strategic move that required little thought. Go after the biggest fish, the man with the most eyes upon him, and make it your sole mission to steal his thunder. Ilia in that regard had been successful. He was now the complete package. Brash, confident, and with all of the fighting ability to draw hordes of fans from the hardcore and casual pools. The number 9 ranking by his name, a man with his notoriety knew that a shot was on the horizon. And soon another challenge would arrive, this time with greater responsibility. One half of a Fight Night main event, it was a clear sign that the UFC believed in their man. But putting him up against the formidable knockout artist Josh Emmett was the true litmus test.
He's got it better than anybody in the sport. The touch of death.
Is one shot.
I mean, his power is preposterous.
Down and out goes Lamas. Josh Emmett.
Power at a fundamental level trumps all in mixed martial arts. It's the ace up the sleeve, the last resort. And even for the aging veterans whose speed and reaction time is long gone, it remains within them too. Josh Emmett's career was built upon it. His frame and fighting style molded around a singular shot, constructed to detonate upon the chin. One-dimensional perhaps, but for the most part it was a winning formula, driving him towards a title shot at the interim throne. A battle he may not have won, but against Ilia the danger was ever present. For finding victory would require going into the fire, but Ilia had proven he could withstand the heat and come out the other side. And with dynamite in his hands, an unbreakable will, El Matador would head once more onto the breach.
He's scary. What he did to Josh Emmett, I was like,
nasty.
Oh, man.
Oh, heavy. Huge combination for the Spaniards. This is an outclassing of Topuria, if we're going to be honest, on the feet. A boxing masterclass. Emmett in desperation mode now gives up the back. Ilia, El Matador, Topuria.
You had a rose in your hand, and then you put the rose in the middle of the cage. What did that signify? Why did you do that?
So it's a matador thing, you know. Every time a matador walks in the arena, the people is showing him the gratitude and the respect, showing him a rose. After El Matador finish, he shows the respect to the bull, and he shows a rose to the bull. After I finish my opponent, or after I get that 10-7 rounds, I want to show my condolence and respect to him, to my opponent, and to his team.
A dominating beatdown nigh unrivaled, and a scorecard as drastic as 50-42 pointed towards clear, visceral victory. As Pimblett lay wading through the dregs of the lightweight division, El Matador had announced himself as a defiant challenger in the division below. But the man he hoped to take on next, the reigning champion, was one with a fighting pedigree greater than most. The man from down under, who had garnered universal praise, not through cheap trash talk, but for simply being that damn good.
Alexander, the Great And still the best featherweight in the world, make it 21 in a row.
Alexander Volkanovski was at one time the new kid, now the old guard and custodian of the featherweight throne. An extensive reign spanning 4 title defenses had granted him a coveted shot at the lightweight belt, a chance for double championship status against the legendary Islam Makhachev. It was a historic victory not granted, but the Australian had left the cage that night honorably, and as the dust had settled, he still remained the featherweight champ. And though Ilia lay in waiting in line for his chance, the natural order of things had to be preserved, and the championship unified.
What's up, everybody? Thanks for coming out today.
It's just go with emotions. I'm pretty experienced with it all now, and just enjoy it. You know, enjoy the International Fight Week. Enjoy Vegas International Fight Week. We are pumped to put on a show for everybody. I guarantee you.
Our last stop as we close out International Fight Week 2023. Volkanovski as yet avoiding those big weapons of Rodriguez. And it is interesting. Volkanovski being seen on Fighter Meeting. Oh!
He's stunning.
Big right for Volk.
Trump is going for it. Oh my goodness.
That'll do it. And still, Alexander Volkanovski stops him.
Still, the undisputed.
Unequivocal domination, a return to form and a statement of intent. Volkanovski had looked as good as ever. His esteemed legacy meant that in truth, he could pick and choose his next adversary at will. And of course, there was only one man in consideration.
5th straight featherweight title defense.
John looked at Topuria's in his face. Topuria might have been a bit taller. Wait till you see what happens.
Penned in for UFC 297 at the turn of 2024, Topuria had the featherweight summit finally within his sights. Just one more step, one last excursion to claim everything he had worked for. All that was left was the grueling camp. 2.5 months of...
Is Charles Oliveira out of his fight with Islam, and is Alex Volkanovski in?
Yes.
Oliveira out, Alexander Volkanovski in.
One of the most anticipated rematches ever.
This is the kind of mentality that I've been talking about for a long time. This is gonna get this guy knocked out. He's gonna get KO'd because of it.
Something like it. Alexander Volkanovski and Islam Makhachev at 2. Oh! Kick from Makhachev! Huge moment in round 1! That'll do it! Islam Makhachev is the man!
Volkanovski, through his self-belief and drive to make history, had dared to dream and paid the price. Short notice gamble, a knockout loss, a losing hand. And in watching the events unfold, Topuria had seen a weakness presented. The mental drive that had gotten Volkanovski to the top had equally been the root of his downfall. An unhealthy obsession with MMA had the Australian mentally fractured.
Literally trying to get from that underwater. I just had to snap myself out of it. I thought this was a fight, this was it. Main purpose in life is obviously right now is obviously my family, my fighting, and when I'm not care, just losing the plot, so I had to take the fight. Like it really is hard for athletes, sorry. I never thought I'd struggle with it, but I mean, like for some reason, when I wasn't fighting or in camp, sorry.
It was a weakness that Topuria aimed to exploit, coaxing him into yet another short-notice turnaround. The mind waned, the body fractured, and yet still Volkanovski would answer the call, his ego challenged, desperate to exercise those demons through the art of war.
Alex Volkanovski. I worry that because of his greatness, we're going to believe that come February, he's going to fight Topuria, and you almost expect the same thing. But what if it's too soon?
He can box.
He can grapple, he can kickbox, he can wrestle. He's not lying when he says he's an evolution of the game.
He's very good everywhere, and he's very dangerous when he gets on the inside. His boxing and his combinations inside and in the pocket are second to none.
Topuria's plan had succeeded, and come fight week at 298, there was something in the air, a feeling, a hunch, that a new king was to be crowned. Ilia continued to challenge that villainous role, the one he was branded with long ago, and his demeanor spoke of not arrogance, but chilling self-confidence.
May as well make the most of it, eh? Fight week. Yeah. Wear it now.
Of course, bro. I'm gonna take a couple of pictures.
You already know what's gonna happen. You just came ready for the retirement. I'm gonna take your head off. I'm gonna show you levels. I'm gonna walk the floor with you.
He took advantage of taking a photo with the belt, and you may as well take advantage of it now. You're never going to see it again.
Obvious comparisons to McGregor's mental dismantling of Aldo so long ago, but in the realm of trash talking, Volkanovski was mentally resolute. And it would come down to a clash of physical skill sets when the chips were down that would finally dictate the winner.
I'm gonna crush him in the first round. Trust me what I'm telling you.
You know,
trust me. In the first round, I'm gonna put his lights out.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, he put him out cold! That'll do it, Andrew! Folks out cold! No! Ilia Topuria, the featherweight champion of the world!
They're gonna tell you you can do it. They're gonna knock you down and doubt you. But guess what? The only person you need to achieve anything in this life is yourself.
Ilia, in going after a fan favorite, had immortalized his role as the villain, the bad guy. But when that patented shot landed flush, few could hate or throw insults anymore. The featherweight GOAT dismantled unceremoniously. It was to many a surprise, but to El Matador, another day at the office.
He was coming out with that strategy, right? With the high kicks and to kick me with the calves and all that. But who cares? I was just waiting to find my timing, you know? He catch me with a couple of punches, and he was like celebrating, like, ha ha ha. And I was like, now it's my turn. Wait for that. Wait for that.
With that singular shot, a new era ushered in. It wasn't just a victory for Topuria, but all of Spain and Georgia. Both countries had gained their first UFC champion, and in doing so, Ilia had proven it could be done. Millions of aspiring warriors now beginning their first steps. Just like Bisping, Weili Zhang, Conor McGregor, Topuria had influenced a generation. The Georgian Merab Dvalishvili one-man motivated. A warrior alongside, who most recently captured the bantamweight throne with his win over Sean O'Malley. To capture the throne is no doubt a tall order, but to defend it is a challenge many consider tougher. When decades are spent aspiring to reach that singular goal, a champion's motivations often wither and wane. Their attention spans instead focused more on lavish new opportunities to sate a gluttonous appetite. The high life beckoned, and just like most, Ilia had dipped his toes in. But the newfound notoriety had its bonuses too, the most prominent of which, Spanish citizenship. A long, long way from those humble beginnings. And as Ilia enjoyed the new novel perks of being a UFC champion, his brother Alexandre would finally get to share the stage too. A modest 4-1 record as a new signing naturally pointed towards narrative motivations from the UFC brass, but their recruitment gambles had paid off drastically before, Alex Pereira the most infamous. And if Ilia's word is to be believed, we may see a second reign of dominance from the Topuria clan even after El Matador is long gone.
To your brother Alexander, this is very exciting. 5-1 as a professional, competes in the bantamweight division. He's been signed by the UFC. I'm sure you expected this to happen, but it's pretty exciting. He will become a UFC world champion too. He's very good, very talented. He's good everywhere.
Le ha dicho que le está pegando detrás de la nuca. Ah, la palmeado.
Golpea con esos codos potente. Esto puede terminar y termina.
With Ilia at the top of the mountain, his brother beginning to sum it up, another man had been blazing his own trail, attempting to gain back what he had once lost.
Volkanovski gets done with Topuria. Max is a likely next fight.
He's the next guy?
It's a possibility. He's the baddest motherfucker. I think he's the best 145er ever.
Yo, Max is fresh. Max is getting better.
A drastic career remontada. Max blessed Holloway was once the featherweight king, regarded as the greatest, then a footnote in Alexander Volkanovski's legacy. But his skill set never wavered, even after 3 losses to the great. And over a decade into his UFC tenure, he still remains at the very top level. And now El Matador's next big challenge. A Volkanovski rematch at first seemed to be the natural order of things, but Holloway had other plans. It would take something special from the Blessed Express to leapfrog the pecking order, and at UFC 300, the biggest stage of all, he would have his chance.
Holloway shows some mortality. Look at this. Holloway just told him, stand right here. Oh, big connection late. That'll do it with 1 second to go. Gaethje face first on the canvas. Max Holloway wins the BMF title.
To challenge a man as favored in the public eye as Holloway would be a losing battle on the fan front. Ilia had gotten this far through his confidence and fighting skills, but the heel mentality here against Max was a fool's game.
I mean, he's good. He's good, bro. You know, I'd be a liar if I sit here and told you, oh, his boxing ain't nothing. He's good, bro.
There is no way I'm not gonna knock him out. I will be the first one to knock him out, because every time I watch him fight, I'm like, I'm way better than him. If you put me only with him in kickboxing or in boxing, even in a chest match, I beat him.
Some may well consider Ilia's ego to have sprouted, from clear confidence to an unchecked madman. But the truth at the end of it all lay inside of those 8-cage walls. For all of the talk, every word, both his legacy and Max's, will be decided through battle. Irrespective of the result, the legacy of the Topuria clan is set in stone. Those who ushered in a new fighting age, donning the flags of 2 nations, and bringing them to the forefront 1 punch at a time.